Well, tonight's game is a brand new ball game for everybody. This is Warwick Cable Advertising and Century Cable's first high school football game of the week, featuring the Castle Knights and the Boonville Pioneers. Hi, everybody. My name is Warren Disler, along with Jack Keller. And tonight we've got one heck of a football game, a rivalry that goes back into the 60s, and that's Boonville and Castle, Jack.
Oh, yeah, Warren. This is always a big game in Warwick County. It's for bragging rights in Warwick County. These two teams square off and go at each other. The game probably has been diminished over the years a little bit with Castle being in 5A and what have you, but it's still a big-time game. A lot of fans out here played in this game over the years, and there's a lot of history behind this. So we got a good night here, and we're going to have a good football game.
Probably could be equated to the modern-day Wrights rivalry on the west side of Evansville, in that the possibility of cousin playing cousin and a relative against relative.
Oh, no question about that. And as I said, a lot of people go back and played in this game. It'll be here tonight. Of course, a lot of nostalgia here tonight with the '82 championship team here, and I think the Knights have got a lot to play for here. The Blue Pride will be introduced tonight, and I look for a real good game, a return for Bob Proctor to Boonville coaching after an absence of a few years, and that's going to be some incentive on that side of the field. So I think we're going to see a fine football game here tonight. We picked a good one to kick off with.
Jack, 1 week ago we saw Castle take on the Memorial Tigers in the Castle Jamboree, and Memorial, a strong team. It looks like Coach John Leidy is going to have to prepare his team a little better than he did for Memorial tonight.
Well, I think that Memorial, what we saw in the Memorial team, Warren, is probably the best team in the city. Just looking at them, we didn't get a chance to see the other four teams, but certainly no one in the Jamboree out here at Castle was on the field with them or capable of being on the field with them. But the Knights are a young ball club. They're going to come a long way. They had a few people out. Coach Leidy will get this ball club turned around.
We'll be back with head coach John Leidy and his comments on the pregame show right after this commercial timeout. Well, as you can see, the stands are primarily empty right now. We're about an hour before kickoff, but I guarantee you that these stands will be packed full of Castle and Boonville fans tonight. Joining us, head coach John Leidy. And John, last week against Memorial, we noticed late in the game you brought in a young junior quarterback who seemed to get the ball moving. Any ideas of making some changes in tonight's game?
Well, not really, Warren. John Cobb did do a nice job in the second quarter against Memorial, and that was encouraging. But Tom Merrill's our starting quarterback, and he has had a good week of preparation. His brother Gabe will be in the backfield at fullback. That'll be a boost to our running game, particularly our inside game, if everything goes right. And Gabe is an excellent receiver as well. So he will be a shot in the arm for our offense. And we looked at our tape. You know, we played decent at times, and Memorial played pretty darn good for a jamboree-type game. So it was kind of a combination of what they were doing right, and some plays, you know, we had alignment problems and what have you. But you know, they beat us fair and square. And as you said earlier, you know, we got some work to do, and we got some holes to fill. But that's why we got an 8-game schedule to play too.
Yeah. One more question before I turn this over to Jack. Got to say congratulations to the Newburgh American Legion baseball team, but you have to be happy to see that season over to get some players back.
Well, they've had an excellent year, and those young men are to be commended, and their coaching staff. They've had a long, enjoyable summer, and they represented the town and the area of Newburgh and southern Indiana. I know we've got a mixed bag as far as players on that team, and whenever you can gather good players from Castle District, the Harrison District, and Memorial, it sure makes it a little easier to field a quality team, but they did do an excellent job, but we're glad to have Matt Toon back in our ranks, and again, he'll help our ball club in a lot of ways.
Of course, Jack was around in 1982 when you won the IHSAA AAA State Football Championship. You might have some viewpoints on that, Jack.
Well, tonight's going to be a lot of nostalgia here, Warren, for Coach Leidy. Of course, Coach Leidy's the only coach left off of that staff. He was the head coach then. Those were some great times, so we're going to get a chance here later to see the players out here that represented Castle back then. And what's your feelings on this, Coach, tonight?
Well, it's just a feeling of pride, and it'll be great to see a lot of the young guys that, you know, it's been 10 quick years, but most of them are coming back, and you know, as a parent, your son Andy was a part of that ball club, and they were just a unique group. The 81 team really got things rolling, and they went to the Final Four, and then the 82 team, they went all the way. And whenever you can go 14-0, and then that was 3A, which was the big class, and you beat people like Martinsville and Carmel and Hobart, and well, that's just quite an accomplishment. And we're very proud of these kids, and while they're young men now, they're no longer high school players, but it's just going to bring back a lot of fond memories, and it just should be an excellent way to kick off the 1992 football season.
Well, when you mentioned young men, I couldn't help but notice they're in there chowing down again. That's a trait that they always had. But I noticed that we used to have shoulder pads under those jerseys that they're wearing. I think maybe a few of them put a pound or two on over the years.
Right, I think so. I don't believe the jerseys have shrunk any. I think the body might be a little bit not quite as proportioned as well as it was 10 years ago. But some of them look like they're pretty fit and trim. And again, it's going to be good to see a lot of them. And hopefully we'll spend some time with them this evening, and then after the game, and then going to have a breakfast with them tomorrow morning. So hopefully it will be a good 24 hours, let's say.
Well, there's been a lot of work and preparation put into this. Your wife, Nancy, heading up the crew. My wife, Carolyn, Mary Jo Huff, Jeannie Brosmer, Kay Fry. Those gals have spent a lot of time, as you and I know, for not being able to use the telephone for the last month or two, and I think it's going to be a great evening.
Well, they have done an excellent job, and they've done it out of the kindness of their heart, and believing in Castle football, believing in young people, and they have done an outstanding job, and we're just glad that we have people like that who are interested in the program and interested in Castle High School, and it should be a fun evening for everyone. The main focus, though, is once all the hoopla is over with, let's get down to the head knocking and take Boonville and go from there. But we're going to have a challenging evening on the gridiron, but hopefully we can gain some rewards there and then come back and enjoy things after the game and enjoy things tomorrow.
Your opinions or thoughts on the game, John?
Well, I don't like to make predictions, Jackson. I never have over the years, but it's hard to really come out and make a bold prediction this early, particularly with a team that's got a new coach, and it's going to be I'd say a closer, and I'm going to say a low-scoring ball game. Normally our games are low-scoring, and like last year, 14-12, we had a chance, had a chance to win and didn't, or chance to tie and didn't quite get it in. So again, I'm going to go on the premise it'll be a low-scoring ball game, and as long as we win by 1 point, I'll take it.
That's right. Any victory is better than none at all.
That's correct.
I want to thank head coach John Leidy for helping us out in the pregame show. We'll be back to talk about the return of the 82 Castle Knight football team and also set up tonight's starting lineups right after this commercial timeout.
All right, guys.
Well, Jack, 10 years has passed. The jerseys seem to be just a little bit tighter, but it's great to reflect back to the 1982 IHSAA, AAA state football champion Knights.
Well, there's no question about that, Warren. This has truly been billed as a night to remember, and I think it started off that way. Really great-looking group of kids down there. Like you say, I was having some fun with some of the kids while they were eating their meal that was provided by the committee, and I said, I remember you kids, and I remember we used to play with shoulder pads up here. Where did we put them underneath these jerseys? And you can see a few bellies hanging out there, but an outstanding group of young people that's been alluded to here earlier pregame, but they really were. They were an intelligent group. They were a strong group. They played together well. They really did everything that was necessary to be a winning team, and they won a state championship. And the only one in southern Indiana, Warren, so that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, when you and I were in high school, they had the mythical state championship, and it just didn't really carry the weight since they've added the playoffs. And with all the different divisions, it's just as important to be a state champion at the A level as it is at the 5 level these years.
Oh, no question about that either. And we have a division separation here tonight with Boonville and Castle, and it really doesn't make any difference when you have a rivalry like this. But these kids played. It was a 3A then. That was the top. It's a 5A now. They're still up there, and they had to play some big teams. They had to play the Carmels, Martinsville to get there. A tough road to hoe, but they were up for the occasion. We hear a lot of people say that Southern Indiana football is not to par with Northern Indiana football, and this is the one team that proved that myth wrong.
If you had to point your finger at one impetus that led Castle to the state championship, had to be their conditioning and specifically their weight training program. They pioneered that in Southern Indiana.
No question about that either. Bill Bennett, who they introduced down here earlier, set up a tremendous weight program. He sold these kids on the fact that if they were stronger and all things being equal, that they could win. And Coach Leidy back Coach Bennett all the way. He did an outstanding job. He was a younger man then than he is today, but the kids related to him. I know, having a son in the program, these guys really sweated. They used to have it back up in the ceiling of the auditorium. It'd get to be about 100 degrees. They were up there pumping iron all summer long and loved it. You know, they hated to see the new weight room. These kids think that now the kids don't have it near as tough, you know, that they're not as tough as they were.
Turn our attention to tonight's game. Castle Knights hosting cross-county rivals, the Boonville Pioneers. And some inexperienced players for Boonville coming into the stadium tonight. Larry Mills never played football before. They had to recruit him out of the hallway.
This is true. Bob Proctor told me that he's a basketball player. He went to him. Also, Josh Madden, who we'll see it split back tonight. Larry Mills will be playing one of the wideouts. Josh hadn't played since he was in junior league. Bob Proctor is the master of motivation, Warren. This young man is an outstanding coach. He's back now for his second term as head coach for Boonville. And they have a lot more enthusiasm. I was driving around Boonville the other day. There was a lot of signs up in the players' yards and a lot of enthusiasm going for the Pioneers. And he believes that he's going to bring this team on. They are young, as you said. He's going to have a sophomore quarterback, a little bit untested there. We'll see if the nerves play a part in these young players.
One more item before we go to a commercial break for more of our pregame show. They're going to run the run and shoot. Obviously, trying to isolate one-on-one inexperienced receivers. If they get themselves into a zone type of defense, which Castle might throw at them, but run and shoot, you have 4 wideouts, 1 back in the backfield. That's probably the only way that they can play it.
No, yeah, they can't match up, I don't think, across the line with Castle. They're not quite to that point yet, but you're right. They're going to have to hope for some breaks, some missed defensive assignments by the Castle Knights in order to make this work.
We have a real treat coming up next. That's going to be 30 years of Castle football players doing the famous Castle Shuffle. We'll be back right after this commercial timeout. Well, Bob Proctor leads his 1992 Boonville Pioneers onto the field here at Castle Stadium. And as you can see, the varsity squad of the Castle Knights lining up underneath their goalpost for the Castle Shuffle.
Well, this is the famous Castle Shuffle, and these were the kids that originated the shuffle back in '82. They're now going to pull around, as we can see on our camera here. They're breaking their tunnel down, and, well, it didn't work. I don't know what happened here. We were told, I guess this championship team's going to do the shuffle by itself.
Well, it's time for the Butterflies for the pregame for the Castle Knights, as they'll form around head coach John Leidy along the sidelines. And got a run and shoot. John Leidy predicted a low-scoring game. Run and shoot's known for wide-open offense and high-scoring. What do you think about that?
Well, I think Coach Leidy's hoping his defensive people can keep pressure on this young quarterback. You know, it's tough to throw from the prone position, and he feels like if he can rush the quarterback, put pressure on him, take a little pressure off of his defensive backs, that he can keep this score down. Here comes the shuffle now, Warren, if we pan there to it.
This is the 1982 team doing the
Yeah, this is the 1982 team doing the shuffle.
It's what they were known for. Before every game, they'd come straight down the field to the 50-yard line and break, but see if they're 10 years older and probably 15 pounds heavier, they're only going to go to the 30 and break.
That's probably about as far as the conditioning will allow them to do. It was suggested that they practice this, and one of the other players said, hey, we're only going to get one shot.
We'll be back with tonight's opening kickoff right after this commercial timeout. In from the sideline.
Chris Ware now going in at fullback, replacing Gabe Merrill.
Merrill, suffering from bruised ribs, did not play in the Jamboree last week. One lone back, slot to the left, wide left and right. As Merrill looks to the left side, and it's a flea flicker.
And he's gone.
Where? Nobody there, one man to beat. Let's see if he gets it. Touchdown. First touchdown of 1992 for the Castle Knights, and that was a 55-yard pass play.
Well, you're going to have a lot of happy 82 team members watching that. I was kind of hoping at some point in time they would pull the flea flicker. Of course, everybody that's a Castle fan knows that's the way we basically won a state championship, was the old Mike Davis to Dion Chester with the pitch to David Brosmer. And I know an ex-quarterback sitting over here on our left who's helping spot for Coach Loudy. My son Andy Keller is living that one up because the flea flicker's back.
Pass play completed for 55 yards, and the score. Well, it's halftime here at Castle High School with the Castle Knights leading 7-0 over the Boonville Pioneers. And for the halftime ceremonies here, I'm going to turn it over to Jack Keller, who has some very special guests from the 1982 Castle football squad.
Thanks, Warren. I have with me Mike Davis, who was the All-State quarterback for the Castle Knights, along with Dave Brosmer. There was a couple of Brosmers on that team. Dave was an All-State tailback. And these two guys have joined us up here, and we appreciate it. Let's bring the fans up to date. Mike, what are you doing? Where are you at?
I'm currently living in Boston, working for Digital Equipment, and I've been out there for about 3 years.
Married or single?
Still single, yeah. Doing the single thing, yeah.
So the girls here, you'll be home how long, Mike?
Please, please.
So some young lady hasn't trapped you. Dave Brosmer, where are you at and what are you doing?
Well, I'm a salesperson for a brake supply company here in Evansville. I'm married, my beautiful wife Julie, and I have a brand new baby daughter. It's 5 months old. Her name's Casey.
We saw her entertaining the troops down there before the game. She's a beautiful young lady and one you can be proud of. So you got caught. You're no longer on the foot free and fancy free. What?
No, I'm locked in.
What do you think about this gathering?
Tell you what, you get back here. It's been a while since I've been back. You get back and you hear the fans and see the team come out on the field, and it really brings back some great feelings from past.
Yeah, it's a wonderful experience. I mean, we've got kind of a weekend of several things planned. I think us guys are going to go hack around the golf course tomorrow, and of course we're all meeting down at the Legion this evening for a little party afterwards, and it's just great to be back, and I have all the other guys like Mike, being in Boston back. I haven't seen him in a while. It's fun.
Chance to renew a lot of old friendships, right?
I'm sorry?
Chance to renew a lot of old friendships.
It's a lot of fun, and you can stay in touch with some of the folks, but a lot of them it's hard to stay in touch with. So these kind of events are great. You get back together and like you said, rekindle some of those friendships.
Well, we talked about early in the show the flea flicker, which you two were part of the threesome that made that play famous for Castle. What kind of memories did that bring back, Mike, when they threw that?
Tell you what, that's a wonderful feeling. One in particular, when we were at Martinsville and down late in the game, and Dave brings the play in, and never forget that feeling when he brought that play in and we ran it, and as soon as the play was called, I think everyone knew it was going to work.
Well, the play in that particular night went from Mike Davis to Dion Chester, who is now a coach at Ball State, who can't be here this evening because of recruiting. He had to leave as soon as the festivities were over. And then on the receiving end of that pitch was David Brosmer.
Thanks. Yeah, it was great. I love seeing that. I was asking a few folks before the game if we, thought we'd see it again, and a few had their doubts. But I think it'll come out again. It's nice to see it after 10 years happen again.
Well, I think there's a lot of nostalgia here tonight, and a lot of good things. What out of the past 10 years of that team, what's your fondest memory?
I think just the friendship that we had. We had a great opportunity to work together from 7th grade on, 6 years of football together, and you really build a lot of friendship in that, and I think that had a lot to do with our success. And it's good to get back together and relive some of those things.
Dave, what's your opinion?
That's the same. I mean, we had just sort of an unbreakable bond, and it just grew from the time we were 7th graders up until the seniors, and we just developed that, throughout the years, and it's just great to be back together again.
Well, I think it's been real evident watching you guys tonight and visiting with several of the former players that this bond still exists. It did when you played. I think you came up at hard times. You were all but out of it at Martinsville. The public address announcer up there said that they're going to have a victory celebration in the gym, and in comes the flea flicker, and kind of ended their party, didn't it?
We did have a celebration. It was just different gym.
That's right. Yeah. And then on to the semi-state and state championship against Hobart, and that was a memorable night also for everybody.
Sure was, yeah. Something none of us will forget.
The culmination of a long dream. It started back in 7th grade. Just kept it going.
Okay, listen, we sure appreciate it, Mike. Dave, we appreciate you taking time out here from enjoying the festivities this evening, coming up and joining us, and best of luck to both of you. Okay. Now back to Warren.